Do we know if Monster Hunter is in trouble? Do we really know if Monster Hunter 6 is in danger? I don't know, but Rage Gaming, what do you say? What?
Introducing the hide and
I
seek
don't
from
need
Bell.
to know what ad is going on here, jeez. But yeah, like, it's been really funny to where, like, recently the um, Monster Hunter World has been being played more recently than Monster Hunter Rise. I plan to play Rise. I can probably start playing Rise this weekend if possible, if not like within the foreseeable future. I want to play the game at least because I want to have a better footing in the discussion because my only experience is my 500 hours in World. If you don't know, then I'll put a playlist down below to just show you. But more on the story.
Favorite memories from Iceborne was.
Oh, no.
Here we
Oh
go!
no! Oh, I'm not in a good. That's a bad place to be.
Yeah, that
Okay.
normally is.
I'm gonna assume
That's
that
in.
you will fire since
That's
not
Rise,
Um,
right?
No,
No, that's
no,
Volcana.
no, do we
Oh
not?
my god!
Yeah, that's always hard to dodge because like it's always hard to know whenever things are coming down from overhead and you don't know where it's gonna land. So oftentimes I'm always at like low stamina when that happens. Not
So
good.
don't
Not
go
great.
behind the thing I imagine because look at the fire behind it.
Dragon light!
Is perfect.
Yeah, that was.
What the hell? I love it.
That is perfect.
Yeah, that was wild, right? Full on White Fatalis, better than we've ever
White
seen
Fatalis,
him put
yeah.
into the game by the
It's always
incredibly
tough.
talented Resurgence mod team. And that's a real special moment there, along with, let's be honest, hundreds of others across many pro and noobs where we've tackled custom creatures
Yeah,
and
that's
dedicated
very-
mod shows, having all sorts of silly fun with the weird to the
That's an issue.
wonderful in the world of custom, well, Monster Hunter World.
Cost-
But you're probably sat there.
Wait. Mod is this now that you know
Understandably going, okay, I'm happy for you. I've also had some fun mod times in World and other games, and that's great. But why are you telling me this? Well, I'll tell you why I'm telling you this since you asked so nicely. Recently, there was a presentation over at Capcom about the new Resident Evil engine that they are working on. And it'll be the engine that future
anti-cheat and anti-piracy measures in PC games, recommendations for in-house production. Okay. Yeah, because like modifying a game is technically can be a form of cheat depending on the player. Because like what's considered a cheat really depending on like player's preference. Like if you are having a hard time in Monster Hunter, you can make a modification where it may be lower in HP, or you can cheat by increasing the drop rates of certain things. That could be forms of cheating, but who knows? It's truly hard to say.
Resident Evil games are on, but it's not just that, despite the name. It'll be the engine Monster Hunter 6 is on, it will be Street Fighter's engine, it will be...
Oh yeah, that's right. There's a lot of large press regarding the new RE engine, and that news has actually been compounded because of regarding the whole Unity thing going on. That was a one domino that was perfect to like provide for people to like say, hey, if we can't use Unity, what can we use? Welcome Resident Evil RE engine to be the new backbone of all of our games, and that could be helpful.
Capcom's engine. For example, currently Street Fighter 6 is on the RE engine.
Oh, Street Fighter 6. I did not know that Devil May Cry was on the RE engine. Resident Evil 2 and Devil May were on RE engine. We've played a little bit of Rise. We played 3. We played Village. We just played Exo Primal on the channel. And you know, I just realized that I talked out of my ass about Unity and Monster Hunter. I'm very sorry. Oh no, wait. Monster Hunter World may be on Unity, but it's definite that Rise and Sunbreak's on RE engine. So we're gonna be playing Monster Hunter to like get that figured out. That'll be fun.
Sunbreak is on the RE engine. So everything that affects the engine affects
Right.
every single one of Capcom's games using it, and therefore affects Monster Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So with that context, in this meeting presentation,
So, is it a problem where like, oh yeah, then there have actually, now that I mention it, I do remember a few mod videos came into play when it came to like character physics. Like, if you wanted to make Monster Hunter more anime, you would just give your character boob and butt physics because it's an anime game, right? So, people wanted the idea of like increasing your bazungas for some odd reason, which I can understand. If you have more cake in the back, that's great because that's all you're ever gonna see in Monster Hunter. But in Monster Hunter, in general, you never see the front, so there's no proper appreciation of like manfuls unless you're in front of your character almost all the time. So
about it, they actually brought up modding on PC in their games and how they feel about it. And let's just say there are some interesting takeaways here. I agree with some, disagree with others, and generally, as someone who is very invested with the Monster Hunter modding scene post-World and just how big and wonderful, and yes, it has its weird and bad parts, but every modding scene does, it became, I don't want that to go away, but there is a
conversation to have.
Perhaps a more likely one than not, that we have already had the golden era of Monster Hunter modding with World and Iceborne, and that Monster Hunter 6 will have everything it can do to prevent, shutdown, and disable them, which would not
I do agree that there is a place for modification because it's to either provide quality of life. When the pursuit of modding came to a situation where if your game wasn't working very well, mods can help. That's why there's add-ons in World of Warcraft. That's why there's certain add-ons like a modified Bloodborne that Maximilian just played. Randomized Bloodborne, it heightens modifications have the experience to heighten the experience. If you were to do a randomized Monster Hunter run, that'd be kind of funny. That'd be pretty cool to where like you'd be doing the story campaign, everything is the same except instead of one monster, you got a randomized Devil Joe in the beginning. It would be downscaled for sure, but that would be so crazy to have if you had a Devil Joe in the beginning of the game. You had no idea why, but you as a future hunter could have ended your run doing that.
only be a huge shame.
But then again, maybe a randomized Monster Hunter might be an issue. If the whole point of a Monster Hunter, like farming, is based on you making your equipment based on the monster, so let's scratch the randomized.
But I believe a massive trust-costing mistake that would do way more harm than good, especially when it comes to, their relationship with us, the player base. So let's actually get into it. This is all from a presentation that they publicly released, and there are 3 main slides of note. PC games give a high degree of freedom, but they're also free to be tampered with. A modding.
Yeah, like the modding. The modding's definitely an issue.
To put it bluntly, the PC is a platform that allows you to create freely, but people are also free to tamper with the game. Again, mod it. Okay, this is just true, that is fine. There's not really anything
That is a fact.
to say here other than I feel like tamper has a weird negative comment.
Yeah, because like the idea of tamper meaning is you're trying to reduce the quality of the game, and that's not the case again. Current modding is put in place where it's to help enhance the game, if not make it more approachable. Like when the completionist replayed Skyrim for his channel, it was very hard for him and very hard to like map out what a completionist run would be like for that game. So instead, the modifications allowed like a way of progression to give you a proper checklist. It allowed a better sense of higher quality of like knowing where things came from, to where like you can replace things with other sounding bits, and that can make it fun to enhance. It's meant to enhance, not to ruin. Because tampering has a negative connotation of like, oh, I don't like it, I'm gonna ruin it. It's not meant to ruin. Mods are meant to enhance.
But I also feel like that's not a big enough deal to really labor on. Then the state of cheat.
Should you target mods in your anti-cheat piracy programs? All mods are defined as cheats. except when they are officially supported. But in that case, if it's at that point, if what they're doing intentionally is no different than cheating, but that is falsely targeted because again, some mods are meant for a higher boost in quality in life. Case in point, if you were to enhance Monster Hunter Rise is notorious for low frame rates because it is meant to be played on the Switch. The original inception of Monster Hunter Rise was for the Switch, and the frame rates to the imaging is very scaled to that of the Switch. And to my knowledge, when they ported it over to other consoles and PC, it didn't adjust for 60 FPS. So because like people want to play it on better quality, right? But the adjustment to 60 FPS on other devices didn't really translate. So it felt shorter, it felt separate. But again, it's really hard to like mods no different than cheats affect the product, and again, it's the blanket assumption that all mods are evil is a problem in the statement.
And piracy in PC games. Should you target mods in your anti-cheat, anti-piracy?
Sorry, hold on. Water, real quick. Need water.
Programs. All mods are defined as cheats, except when they are officially supported. What they are doing internally is no different than cheating. Mods no different than cheats in their effect on the product. What? This is an upsetting thing to read, honestly. Look, let's lay some ground rules here. This is a meeting about
Yeah, it's about Capcom's like how they define the new engine and how they're going to going forward, you know?
Capcom's engine and its development from a business standpoint. It is not the developers getting together and having a chat. This is nothing to do with the Monster Hunter developers. I imagine this is nothing to do with Resident Evil or Street Fighter developers. It is not that. There is no one that should be, like, attacked over this. It goes way above the heads of anyone you probably are even aware of that is part of Capcom. This whole thing is rooted in a cold business. As far as I'm aware, specifically in the Monster Hunter sphere, they've got really nothing against literal mods, you know, the creative stuff that adds to the experience. Monsters, armor.
Yeah, because when it comes to the modifications in Monster Hunter, in Monster Hunter in general, it's a matter of like boosting in quality. The quality of gaming is being boosted, is being complemented. When the community doesn't like a certain modification, some mods, some of the complaints that people come across isn't really addressed, like frame rate, like imaging. They want a better looking product to enjoy the game in, right? But coming from a corporate standard, corporate oftentimes don't look at the finer details. They don't often look at the context. In general business practices doesn't have corporate looking at the context of why things are happening. So to better save face and to better like do things in broad strokes, they're gonna broadly stroke that all mods are evil, whether benevolent or malicious.
Custom quests, all of the fun things that just keep players playing. And on that point, it should be laboured, it's obvious, but it should be stressed that mods are overall always healthy for a game.
Yeah, it is,
no coincidence that the games with the largest mod scene...
That's the equivalence of saying, like, I'm gonna go to McDonald's, right? And I'm gonna buy their double cheeseburger. But I like the cheeseburgers as is, but I can enhance it to have maybe pickles, to change out the cheese, to maybe give it a different bun, to probably give it more sauce. Those are modifications to my Burger King meal, to my McDonald's cheeseburger that I'm going to do. I want to enhance it to better enjoy the product. But but then they're saying, oh, McDonald's, the moment McDonald's saying, oh, look, you're taking apart your burger. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to modify your burger to your taste. and that you're ruining our image because you're modifying our cheeseburger. I'm going to take that cheeseburger away from you because you don't appreciate what I'm doing for you. It's the same conversation. The corporate's not understanding that games are catered to certain, not all people who are modifying your game is out to ruin you. It's to enhance a product you made for them. If you gave me a cheeseburger, I'm going to enjoy it, but I might like it better with a different by adding a sauce that you don't provide. If you're not providing the change innately, I have to do it by myself. I have to put more jalapenos if you're not going to give me jalapenos, or if it's not included to begin with. It's that kind of conversation.
Also happen to be some of the most loved and long-lived games ever made.
I don't need to know about your ads and product, man. Like, I don't like ads.
Just look at the top 32 most modded games on Nexus.
And people argue that the number of mods is look, Skyrim's at 69.5 thousand modifications. Fallout 4 is 40.1 thousand modifications, and it's all these mods are for the sake of enhancing the quality. It's to keep people playing a game that they enjoy from you, but they're not going to read it that way.
There is over 2,600 games that have mods on Nexus for reference,
and there's also like an Elden Ring mods over here too. Resident Evil have mods here too. I don't know what this is. My Summer Car, Samaka has mods. Baldur's Gate has mods, and it only just got released recently too. But look at Cyberpunk already. When you play Cyberpunk, it was a mess prior, but the modifications people have made at the release of the game is to enhance its quality because they want to believe in the product. But what they pushed out wasn't so good. You gave me a cheeseburger, but it was unseasoned, so I'm going to open up that burger and modify it with proper seasonings, like put in some like salt and pepper, and I'm going to love your thing better with salt and pepper. If you're not going to innately provide it, I'm going to modify it.
You will notice that if you scan these names, they are, again, some of the biggest games ever. And yes, a game being big and popular will cause it to have a larger mod scene. But then the larger mod scene helps the game get even bigger and more popular and stay relevant longer, and it's a nice little feedback loop. And you will notice there that Monster Hunter World is the 13th most modded game. It has 55 million mod downloads. Yes, nothing compared to Skyrim's 1.9 billion, but then again, Skyrim and mods are essentially interchangeable terms. We have things like Stardew Valley, like Baldur's Gate 3, already thriving in that space. The perfect game for it, and it will keep it going.
How would
for
you
a long
modify
time.
Baldur's Gate 3?
The
I wouldn't
Witcher,
know that.
Things like Subnautica or even Elden Ring, despite Elden Ring really not liking you at trying to do anything other than just play the vanilla game. There is a lot of fun to be had.
And not to argue, the vanilla game is really fun, but people might want a modification if there are some parts that are just too obscure. But again, it's the same way like you telling me I can't have condiments for my cheeseburger,
and therefore there is a lot of extra hours to be played.
which is a type of
If I was a
modification.
developer and my game was soaring at the top of the most modded charts, I would be ecstatic, because that's an entire long-lived, big community to consistently tap into and, get pure retention from. Now, this all mods are defined as cheats is not the same as saying all players who use mods are cheaters, and I think that is worth remembering. It's more in the context that the plan for the engine is to detect any mod and deal with it the same way a cheat would be dealt with, and therefore try and eliminate it. And it is fair enough that you can't expect them to go over every single one of thousands upon thousands of mods and okay some of them as fine, and then put flags to stop certain others because they're not fine. That's just not ever gonna happen, and it's unreasonable for it to happen. So you have to take a stance of either everything is okay or nothing is okay. And if you take the stance of everything is okay, well, the third slide comes into play.
Workload due to malicious mods. Customers affected by buggy mods cost support time. But if you were to, wouldn't you uninstalling the game and reinstalling the game remove the mods you did? And you can easily undo mods if they didn't work properly, right? Investigation takes time and are futile even if they turned out to be successful. Delays in the original production of the game due to time required for research, support for other users is delayed. But again, like oftentimes modifications comes in when the support isn't fast enough. And again, you're gonna if you have a team of 30 that just released the game and they are doing their best to meet with demands, they're gonna be too busy oftentimes with the nitpicks that players have. Mods have a place where it solves certain nitpicks in games so that what they hope for is the community leads and like the company leads can focus on bigger bugs that can't be done by like the community, you know?
Reputational damage caused by malicious mods. The image of the product is tarnished when mods are released that violate public order and morals without... I mean, it's fair enough. You have countless, endless amounts of mods that are not safe for work and don't do anything more meaningful than just letting various characters run around naked. Now, no judgment to anyone who makes them or indeed installs them. Life is too short, you do you. But when you have things like a Street Fighter 6 tournament interrupted because a nude Chun-Li mod accidentally was on stage, well, you can kind of see why they're over here like, oh, why? And
I can
maybe
interact
would
that.
prefer that to, you know, not happen. And the argument that, yeah, there are...
Yeah, there's definitely some cases where if a Street Fighter tournament is played like live, then like the majority of mods I've noticed have been cosmetic. So if cosmetic mods are causing a problem, then yes, that would make sense. You don't want to ruin your game by somebody coming in from Malaysia and wanting a fairly new Chun-Li. I would like a fairly new Chun-Li. But if it's causing a problem in public, then it's on the player who modded the game, not the ability to is the problem. They had every chance to remove the modification of the skin before getting into the tournament. That's on them. But, you know,
situations where things do get mistaken for legitimate, where a mod just makes the game look bad in the eyes of an average person seeing it out of context, and if you don't want that to ever happen, the only solution is to hard fight against, ban, and put in place integrated anti-mod systems into your engine and therefore your games. There's also, yeah, to use Street Fighter, it is a competitive game, so you don't want people modding in a cheating literal sense because that will ruin the experience for everyone. That doesn't so much apply to a more single-player game or non-PvP game like Monster Hunter. Yes, you don't want someone running up and one-shotting the monster in your random online hunt, but honestly, can you tell me how many times that has happened to you? I have played Monster Hunter for my job for the last 6 years, and I've seen it happen 0 times. And then they follow up with workload due to malicious mods. Customers affected by buggy mods cost support time, worst case good freezing, save data corruption, investigations take time and they're futile, delays in the production of the game, and suppers in front of me is delayed. That is also fair enough, but I don't have numbers in front of me, but I would at least intuitively think that the number of people who are both savvy enough to know about and install mods, but not savvy enough to not realize the one they're going for is going to mess with their save irreparably is quite small. It's not like in the past where someone would join your online hunt in 3rd and 4th gen and set your hunter rank to 999 and corrupt your file with a hacked console, and there's nothing really you can do about it because it's just your cartridge. But on PC now, there's so many things you can do with files to essentially fix, change, and repair any given thing that it doesn't seem like it should be as big of a factor. But again, I don't feel good speaking about this without actual statistics. They might...
Yeah, because, like, it makes sense to where, like, you want to protect your game from failing, and you don't want your mod to interrupt the gameplay of other people, vanilla players. And yes, we want to prevent that, but also the guy who is modding the person modding the game has to know the risks and has to know the ways out of it.
Literally have untold cases of documented people getting in touch with support because they've been screwed over by someone else messing with their game in multiplayer, or them accidentally doing it to themselves. But the thing is, irrelevant of these concerns, mods will always happen. And I feel that makes any argument kind of pointless, because you literally cannot stop people from modding your game if you want to, down to the tiniest changing a file, all the way over to adding in entirely custom content and everything in between. If someone wants to do it, they're essentially going to do it. You know what has happened every time a game has had inbuilt anti-modding capabilities, one of the first mods that gets made is anti-modding capabilities. This mod will enable you to mod your game. And then it goes on from there. So it's kind of an endlessly losing battle. And if you look at it pragmatically like that,
Because oftentimes when you are presented with a barrier, there will be others who want that barrier down because they themselves don't want that barrier up, no matter how you are feeling. That makes
you
sense.
can either have mods in your game while projecting that you don't want them and try to stop them, and then you have backlash from that. Or you can have mods in your game while projecting either neutrality or support of them, while, of course, pushing down the ones that do just exist to be harmful and targeting them, and then you get positive public reception. It seems like in those two choices, which are inherently your only two choices, one makes a lot more sense. I will say, however, when mods are used to enable or give people content that is behind a paywall, whether you agree that it should be behind a paywall, and 90 times of the time it probably shouldn't, but that aside, when a mod is being used to do that, of course any given company is going to try and stop that from happening, and in that sense it's understandable. It's also an impossible fight, but it is understandable. This all said then, to loop it back around to Monster Hunter 6, I think it would be such a shame, a
Yeah, because next year will mark 20
huge
years.
crime to put so many barriers to modding into the engine that will power Monster Hunter 6 that Monster Hunter 6 struggles to get off the ground in the modding space. Well,
Because like there is a point where like if you release a game with so many shackles, it provides so many barriers. And in my experience, when I played Monster Hunter World, it wasn't very, for me as a player, it didn't give me enough barriers to think, I wish I could play this with more mods. I wish the quality was better with more mods. That was not my experience, but if they have a problem during launch, equally within the same weeks to months, days to weeks after the game gets released, there are definitely going to be people who know how to mod the game to then go in and say, hey, for my own personal experience and for whoever wants to take my mod, I made this game better for me. Here's the modification that I had to do to make the game better for me, to love the game, to be playing the game still. So hey, here's the recipe. And then when they bring this out now, with this news, it's going to cause a problem.
Golden Iceborne was so enriched for it, and there was so many cool things. It just makes the community better, and when the community is better, the game is better, and that makes the franchise better. It makes future releases better. Yes, I'm speaking grandiosely, and the reality is the entirety of the modding sector is still very small compared to a game's total player base, and so on and so forth. But it's also not insignificant. That's why it's being talked about on so many levels. If you actually look at the mods that were the most successful and popular for, let's just take World, I mean, you have things like...
Because, like, let's see. Because already on this page, for when it comes to mods, Performance Booster and Plugin Extender, that's one thing. Okay, and then there's other things that are, like, more cosmetic. There's a cosmetic thing to make the handler look better because she looked a little garbage. And then making the icons more noticeable, which helps a lot. All items in shop with DLC, making the items more available, like removing that barrier of hours of gameplay before you can access that. That's helpful mod. Is sorting the items, drop item effect to make the items more findable. Cosmetic again over here, mod manager, all items in shop for Iceborne. Making items accessible easier is going to help with its longevity sometimes.
increase the performance of the game. I mean, that's just inarguably a positive. You have things like making pick-upable monster parts glow more so you can actually see them. Outside of that just being useful, that kind of goes, maybe we didn't make parts actually visible enough on the floor. Perhaps in future games we should shine them up a bit, you know? You can actually use them to gain a little bit of insight.
A mod that indicates the monster's property weakness. Copy native PC to the base folder when you're... Like, it helps. Like, the indication helps because, like, how am I going to know that by breaking Volcana's head, or no, actually no, by breaking Agonat's neck. It prevents him from constant fire breathing, stuff like that.
Insight into your own design process if you want to go down that route. It also helps people who just have vision struggles. You have something like the Transmog mod, and it's understandable why this was so popular. Hey, just easily let yourself look like any armor combination you want and have fun hunting. Fashion hunting is everything. Now, there is the...
Yeah, fashion is a huge thing because you want your hunter to look the best, right? You want to be in a world and be in a place to where, hey, I'm enjoying this game. I would like to wear armor to make me feel more lived in rather than limited to X amount of hunts. And even the gems don't prog as much as I would want them to.
In-game actual transmog system. You know, you craft the armor to be layered, and then you can layer it up, and using this skips that process. And that's a little bit more iffy, but it also kind of doesn't matter, right? It doesn't hurt anyone, it doesn't affect anyone, it's an individual choice, it's not upsetting people in online lobbies, you just want to look like the armor you want to look like without grinding for it. But if grinding for it is the point, where do you draw the line on being okay with that element being skipped in your game? Which is why this issue isn't just black and white. There is a discussion to be had here, and it's why I want to have it.
Because, like, there's definitely some situations where I don't want to keep farming this guy for so long because this gem will not drop, and if this gem won't drop, then I can't get the weapon that I need. So to get a modification to help you make that more attainable, you can finally move on. Some content farming can be reduced to help you move on with the game, not because you become a monster, a master, and Volcana hunter, not because you liked hunting them, but because the certain part that you wanted had a low rate of getting.
There are a few just straight up cheats, like just give me every item, please, or show the monster's health, and, you know, that
The monster's health showing is really helpful, too.
stuff, again, is technically cheating, but again, it doesn't affect anyone in a game without competitive multiplayer. I don't care in the slightest if someone else playing Monster Hunter World just gets everything for free and doesn't have to grind any monsters. I will still grind the monsters because that's what I find fun. Someone who is refusing to grind the monsters and just wants to get given everything might not find that fun, but they might find other elements of the game fun, and that's why they want to skip to those elements. Or they might just not have a lot of time. There's a myriad of reasons. But it doesn't matter if some guy in your random hunt lobby didn't have to work as hard as you did to get the armor he's wearing, because it's kind of not the point. Obviously, people like cheat one-shotting monsters in a online hunt. Why? Just don't do that. That's a scumbag move.
Yeah, because at that point, it's a matter of you policing yourself to where if someone makes a prog to one-shot kill a monster, that's for their enjoyment. But then you have to police yourself. If you're going into a multiplayer setting, you can ruin somebody's gameplay by one-shotting it when, sure, on the short term, oh, I passed Furious Rajang. Cool. I was stressed out by that. But at some point when you get that to happen frequently, that makes the game less fun.
That makes you garbage. But, you know, anything past that is just sort of adjusting your own single-player experience, and that's up to you to decide. Ruin it, don't ruin it, do whatever you want, essentially. And I think just generally it's clear that by and large the most popular mods tend to be mods that just add a little bit of convenience or quality of life, which is fair enough. But none of this takes into account the best category of mods, the mod monsters. The whole new, unique experiences created by very
Doom Eternal X Monster Hunter World? Oh, that's a fun mod. That's a fun, like, idea. Savage Eva improved to look like Xenohiva. Okay. Guiding Lands, better monster material drop rate. Devil Gene Gigante.
talented, hard-working modders. They are something else entirely. They are just inarguably a positive. They're just good. They're fun. They're cool. They're an experience. They give you purely more hours to enjoy this game you already love in a way that you never could before. And
oh my god,
like that are the healthiest.
Wait, who's that monster? Okay, modding can provide. Yeah, the fact that some mods can provide monsters to further enhance your experience. That's
Ask for, and they are just good. And look, bottom line here is essentially three main points. You cannot stop mods from happening. You just can't. It's always going to happen to any game that is popular enough with enough people that care to mod it. So, two, you can either choose to fight against that in an inevitably losing battle, or you can choose to support it in a way that still makes sense, even if it's cautiously, even if it's in a way that still attempts to protect your game, but don't hardline come against it, because that will just result in a lot of, for the most part,
a lot of
deserved
loss.
backlash. So
Because like definitely there will be a situation where, hey, if I don't like this game, that I don't if I don't like that this game will let me mod, that gives the guy the choice to, hey, let's just play it as is, or I can't play this until you allow me to mod because X, Y, and Z. But again, it's the same situation where if you don't give me a hamburger that if you don't give me the option to add things to my hamburger, then I will go somewhere else to where I can have my cheeseburger and maybe add another sauce that you don't have without you policing me about it.
then three, given those choices, there's only one real choice at all, at least in my mind.
To not
Essentially,
play it.
I just think it would be a huge mistake to try and hardline mods in the next generation of Capcom games, and I really hope that that doesn't happen. That's my, TED Talk on the matter, and I hope you have found it enjoyable. For now then, like if you have indeed found it enjoyable, subscribe for more.
Yeah, that was a good conversation. I agreed to the majority of like his points. This is Raging Game Videos who made the video. I really enjoyed it. I talked about it a bit, but it is true that if you're gonna the big people the issue that people are gonna have is the hardlining. People are gonna be less receptive if you're hardlining things compared to giving them a guideline and say, hey, by the way, this engine, it's to prevent from anti-cheating because we want the blanket experience to be a whole experience. And it's true that there may have been some instances where tournaments have been affected by another person's modification, but that's on the player who brought their mod to the community to where, hey, I love that you love the game. You're still playing the game. That's great. But I can't have you playing nude Cammy on a national screen. That's the issue. That's where we can't do that. You can't just simply do that. So you have to like police it, especially with Monster Hunter 2 as well. When Monster Hunter 6 gets dropped, we want to have that discussion to where, hey, I like that you like this game, but if you modify it, you can't modify it, and that's a hard line. The topic of modifications is going to be a talking point because it allows people to properly enjoy the game, or if you didn't give them a game flexible enough to their needs, if the frame rate's really low, people wanted modifications for a better FPS on the game. People might want a modification for a better looking character because your options are garbage. And then there's other modifications like you saw where White Fatalis is apparently a different subspecies of Fatalis, which again I apologize for. I haven't fought White Fatalis. I fought regular Fatalis. And you know what? I scrapped the footage because I had a hard time fighting it because people kept dying. But the point is that it was an option for me to play Fatalis. If White Fatalis is an option for me as a more seasoned hunter on PC, I would like to give it a try. But I'm never going to get that chance because vanilla Iceborne does not have White Fatalis as opposed to regular Fatalis. So it's a conversation, you know. It's a conversation of like, how do you want to enjoy your game? And if the company is hardlining the people's choice, then the people will decide if that was the right choice. But yeah, you know, that's the video. I'll link their video down below. Go support their channel. I like their content. Sometimes they talk slowly, so I'm going to speed them up because I need the content quickly. You know, I need to hear it quickly. But yeah, that's it. That's the video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.